Now that we've covered my experience with Traces of Death, we're now going to get into some more of the I don't want to call it graphic details because I'm not going to go as much in detail. By the way, that's my clock, please ignore it. So basically in this part of the video, in part 1, I basically talked about, you know, my experience with it and how I got to come and watch this movie and what made me watch this movie, which is something I'm definitely not proud of now. I know I'm making a video about this, but now that I think about it, you know, this is probably, you know, one of the only times I'm going to do this on this channel. So for all of you out there who want to watch it but are either too chicken or, you know, are kind of edgy, like, oh, maybe there's some parts of it I'll watch, but then when this part comes up, you know, I wanna stop watching or whatnot. I did you guys a favor. Now I'm just gonna give you all a heads up. Anyone who's has either a heart condition or, you know, are young and impressionable, or if you are easily offended by such material, please just don't watch this video. Some of the things talked about in this video are going to be extremely disturbing. I'm not going to show any clips, obviously, because I don't want to get this video flagged, and I don't want to get into any other kind of legal troubles if so. No scenes of the film we shown, but we're going to talk about some of it and whatnot. So I just want to warn all of you that that's going to happen, and if you don't want to hear any of this, please just do not watch this video. It is going to be pretty adult rated, so just be advised. If you want to do so, I'll give you to the count of 10 to click off this video if you'd like. So here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so if you're still here, I'm guessing you want to know more about this film, so let's get into it. So I was nice enough for you guys, and I made a list in my phone of everything that happened in this movie. Now, I got this idea from Astro Radio Z, who did a podcast on this film. So he did kind of the same thing, so I decided I'd do the same and let you guys know what happens in this film. So here we go, let's jump right into it. So at the very beginning of the movie, you get this extreme warning. Sorry, I think I was about to butcher that. But yeah, so you get this extreme warning which comes across. Well, actually before that, you get this dumb message, which in my opinion is the dumbest thing I've ever read. We'll talk more about this later, but it says that the producers were considering putting a tone or sound before and after each gruesome scene contained in this film, but because every scene in the film would need it, we decided to do away with it. I don't get the point of that, because I mean, if this is a shock video, isn't it all going to be disturbing? I mean, I guess it's nice because I even said in my reaction video that I thought it'd be nice to have that at certain points in the film, which it might have been, but you know, I realize now if it's all going to be shock, then just give them the straight up warning and then get on with the show. So the extreme warning, which is just a scroll that says, you know, that this is only for the real death enthusiast, which I don't know anybody out there who's a death enthusiast. I certainly, for one, am not, and I totally have empathy for those who go and pass, you know, and I feel bad for the families and for anybody else who's affected by such tragedy. So I really don't know what a death enthusiast is. I'm guessing somebody who's like, you know, wants to push their boundaries and watch the most disgusting things on the planet, which I was one of those people at one time, because that's what motivated me to watch this sick movie. So yeah, so you get an extreme warning, and then we get this intro by the narrator, which of course you get the Dead Alive logo, the Traces of Death intro, and then you get the intro by a man who's credited as Damon Fox. So yeah, he sounds more like a computer animated voice in my opinion. I don't know what you guys think. If any of you have seen it, you might think the same thing. He sounds kind of odd, you know. He has this real, you know, like, into a realm where blackness remains and nightmares become reality. but do begin your journey with caution. And then he warns the audience again, you know, saying you will see things incredibly graphic. If you cannot tolerate this, please, I think the way he describes it is return to your normal world now. So basically saying then turn this off and just go back to living your happy life, which is something I wish I could have done now. And then, you know, then the film actually starts at this point, you know, after showing all that. I mean, you do get a few graphic glimpses of, like, you know, skulls and morgues and, you know, just a few graphic photos, and it's kind of their way of saying, hey, this is the real deal. We've warned you a first time, we've warned you a second time, let's get real now. So basically that's what that's saying. And then we actually get into the movie. So the first thing we see are graphic crime scene photos. So basically like the photos that police have to take of the crime scene, you know, and the ones that, you know, show the stuff that you'll probably find in like a coroner's office or things like that, you know, so then they know, you know, what happened to the person before they, you know, do their things. So yeah, so you see a few of those with, you know, I think a couple of them being, you know, just people who've been stupid, doing stupid things. One person who was hit by a car and I guess on the highway or something, and you see his leg all screwed up, you know, and I think the narrator even tries to throw in a little humor, which didn't work with me because it was just so messed up, with saying like, have you ever wondered what the inside of a leg looks like, sprayed, splayed, and filleted like a side of beef? And then, you know, they show the photo and then he's like, you know, well, now you know, and it was I didn't get it, you know. It's kind of like, you're really trying to make me laugh while I'm looking at this photo of, you know, some guy, you know, who tragically died on a freeway, and you're trying to make light of it. Well, I guess that's what they're trying to do. I guess that's the point of some of these shock films, but still, it doesn't sit well with me. So, and then after that, then the narrator stops talking for actually quite some time, and then all we see is a bunch of like caught on video crime scenes. So like those ones that, you know, somebody's filming and then something goes horribly wrong, or, you know, stuff that, you know, some of the people film at, like some of the crime scenes and whatnot. So, and one of them is actually from the Michael Moore film Bowling for Columbine, which is the murder of, I think her name is Marista Martin. She was shot by her ex-husband at a cemetery, which is an ironic place to die. So, because I don't remember the whole story of why they were there. I think their daughter had died and they were paying their respects, and then he blamed the wife for that. So that happened, which was really messed up. And then of course, you know, you get a bunch of other different things, like I think somebody's car explodes and stuff like that. And then you get paramedic footage. So basically like the footage of the paramedics trying to go out and save somebody. They try and intubate one guy, and, you know, then they show them, you know, having to, you know, cover the body to prepare to take it to the morgue and whatnot. It's some crazy stuff. Then the next scene, there's actually about 3 or 4 scenes in this that just turned my stomach, and I just had to say no, and almost had to skip, or else I almost wanted to just turn it off at that point. And this is one of them, because it just really screwed with me. If you watch my reaction, you'll see that I was really affected by it, and I almost quit. And it's footage of a pig being burned by a blowtorch, which I thought was just inhumane. I think it was an experiment, but still really inhumane. No excuse for that. It's, you know, vulgar. It lasts for about a good 3 to 4 minutes, you know, of them just doing that. And then Mr. Voiceover comes back, and we get some more photos of, you know, what he calls human destruction. And it's just like people who have been attacked by animals, mauled by animals, or, you know, have died and became food for animals, stuff like that. And that was really disgusting. And then, of course, we get a bear being electrocuted on a wire. Don't worry, from what I've heard and read, the bear actually survived. He did fall, but that's what I've heard from outside sources, is that the bear did survive. So I'm happy about that. And then we get a pit bull attack on this one woman. I don't know the whole story behind that. Just the pit bull comes out and I think bites her arm or something like that. And then we get into some of the more like surgery kind of footage, you know, of stuff like that. You know, things where people are being worked on, operated on, whatnot, etc. And then it starts off with an autopsy, which was really disgusting. In my video, I know that you could tell I was about ready to throw up watching that. I actually, if you watch this next clip, you'll see something really crazy. I actually had the same exact reaction that one of Steve's friends from Shock Extreme 1 had during the autopsy scene. Take a look.
Oh my god. What? No, dude. This is like my greatest.
Looks like an autopsy.
And now here's my reaction to that scene. Oh my gosh. Oh my. Oh. Dude. Pretty disgusting stuff. That's why I don't work as a coroner in a morgue. Okay, moving on with the list. Within that same sequence, we also get a spinal cord and brain removal. So basically where they take your spinal cord out and they examine it. And then of course the brain removal, if something happened to your brain, like if you died because of a brain injury or something, you know, sometimes they take it out. Well, yeah, that's my cat. Just don't worry about him. So basically what happens there is that you get a brain removal. So like I said, you know, somebody had a head injury and they have to examine the brain. That's basically what that is. And then we get kind of what I like to call the comic relief. It's not comic relief. None of this is funny. None of this is humorous in any way. I know they try to make it out like that a couple times, but it's tasteless and not. But the reason I call it comic relief is because you get a break from some of the more extreme crap that's going on in this film, and you actually, you know, get a little bit more of less graphic footage. I mean, it's still graphic, it's still disturbing because people, you know, are either losing their lives or getting hurt really bad. So, yeah, and then basically what it is it's car accidents. So basically just like a montage of those. Most of them are racing accidents, you know, like when they're broadcasting live and somebody crashes their car and whatnot. Some of these I think are Evel Knievel stunts. Like there's the one where he was at Barstow, California, where he tried to jump the motorcycle, got hit in the crotch, and then, you know, he says his infamous, "Needless to say, I never did this stunt again," which I had to laugh at because knowing Evel Knievel, he probably did do that stunt again. Well, not that exact stunt, but you know how crazy he was. And then I think one of his other ones is his infamous Caesar's Palace crash where he really got hurt and banged up. So they show that. We get some Daredevil wrecks. That I think that's with the Daredevil wrecks are some of Evel Knievel's stunts. We get a few more auto accidents, which are more of like, you know, the ones that you'll see out on the streets and whatnot, and a couple more racing ones too. And then we go back to the surgery theme, and we first get a breast reduction. I can't even say the stupid word. Breast reduction surgery. There we go. That's how you say it. And we got some weird music playing over that. I think it's the theme from Ghoul School or something like that. And then we get to the part which is the second scene that also turned my stomach, where I actually legit almost had to turn it off again. This is probably what I consider the worst scene in Traces of Death. The worst scene, and probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in my entire life. It is a male to female sex change operation. Not only is it painful to watch, but it's also incredibly disgusting to watch. I mean, I almost threw up trying to watch that, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't make it through that whole scene. I actually chickened out, and I only made it through maybe about 2 minutes of the scene. And of course, the one thing that I hate about that part is the narrator's dialogue. I mean, you know, he gives his speech, and then right as they're about to start the surgery, you know, "Cross your legs, kiddies," and it didn't make any sense to me. I didn't understand it, but I think we're gonna cut it off there with that one, and we're just gonna move on to the next one because I don't think I need to explain anymore. That one's pretty self-explanatory. So yeah, the whole scene in total I think lasts about like 5 to 6 minutes or something like that. But I'm not planning on going back and checking that out. So, and then we get rodeo accidents. So like, you know, people who are in rodeos and fall off their horses get hurt. I think one guy gets attacked during a bullfight, which hat off to that bull for attacking him, because it's an inhumane sport in my opinion. We get some riot footage of people, you know, going crazy, tearing stadiums apart and whatnot. And then we get a plane crash in which a guy's flying a plane and then it just goes straight down into the ground. And then they show the emergency teams trying to put the fire out. and whatnot. I don't know if that guy made it out alive. I'm guessing not. But you know, that they show that, and then we get into the theme that I actually really disturbed me, really disgusted me, and I couldn't believe they even included this. But it's a shock film, so I guess I should have seen it coming. And it's the theme of suicide. And a lot of these are like, you know, aftermaths of suicides and whatnot. I mean, they do show a few of the actual people, you know, doing, I don't want to say doing the deed because that's going to sound wrong, but I think you guys know what I mean. You know, it actually showing them, you know, killing themselves and whatnot. But I had to turn my head for some of that because I've actually lost a friend through suicide, and suicide's just not a good, nice issue for me. So through some of that, I actually wasn't able to watch it, and I just had to, you know, close my eyes for a little bit. One of them, I think, included a guy who tried to do it, and then they had to remaster his face, and that was disturbing to watch. And then, of course, the last one of that theme, we get the infamous R. Bud Dwyer suicide, which is all over the internet now. I'm sure probably a lot of people have seen that. I don't think I really need to explain this one, but if you don't know what it is, I don't suggest you taking a look. But it's basically, he was a Pennsylvania treasurer who was caught, or they thought that he was, you know, accepting bribes and whatnot, and basically he went to this news conference and resigned, and then what he did is he handed out some letters, and then he grabbed an envelope, pulled a handgun out, and then shot himself. And yeah, and the sad thing was is that he was innocent from what I've heard. So you know, it's really tragic and sad and whatnot. It got broadcast, unfortunately, across the nation, so that footage is everywhere pretty much. And then we get a baby, and then we get one more surgery, and that's a baby brain surgery, which was also really hard to watch, which is probably the fourth thing that really turned my stomach in this, you know, especially since it's an infant and I have a soft spot for kids and animals, so obviously that wasn't pretty to watch. And it went on for a while too. And then we get some mortician footage, which is basically showing how the morticians prep the body before they, you know, put the body into the coffin and, you know, get ready to, you know, have a funeral. So they show that. Then we get some mortician photos, which are like, you know, some of the, you know, photos they show people who come into the morgues and whatnot who have unfortunately met their doom in that way, with the Ghoul School theme playing once again over all that. And then the final scene we get from this film is the infamous lion attack on Pit Dernuts, which was also used in another Mondo movie called Savage Man, Savage Beast, which I've not watched and have no plans of watching. But yeah, so, and that's where that one came from. And we're gonna talk about a lot of this later, some of my gripes with this film, and I'm gonna kind of rant about it because I don't like this film. But basically what that one was is this guy, now this one I kind of have to say was his fault. I have to take the narrator's side on this one. This guy was an idiot. He basically thought it'd be a good idea to get out of his car while the lions are trying to feed and while they're eating and whatnot, and get a close-up photo, only to be mauled by them in front of everybody, including his family. So that was rough. Some people question whether if that's fake or not. I mean, I know they say in this film everything is real, but, you know, even when Savage Man, Savage Beast came out, people questioned, oh, is this real, or did they fake this? It's been under a lot of speculation, but if it was used in this, my guess is a lot of people thought it was real, so they took it and used it. And then that's pretty much the end of the film right there. And he says, you know, his final line of the actual film is, you know, perhaps he wanted above all to prove to himself that he wasn't afraid, even though he only had a camera and not a gun, or something like that. And then the film ends there pretty much, and then the narrator, you know, says like, you know, okay, we're about to wrap up this journey into the world of those who no longer breathe. So now please fear when the Reaper calls, or he says something like that. And then they go through a recap of pretty much every photo from this movie. From the beginning of the film to the end and whatnot. So basically, you know, every photo shown, and then it ends with the narrator saying like, see you later. Starts laughing, and then you get this message right before the credits starts that says send in $5 to get a catalog with all this like macabre stuff, like, you know, t-shirts, videos, serial killer footage, skulls and bones, crap like that. I don't know why anybody would send $5 in for that crap. But I know for sure I wouldn't, because I'm not that sick of a person. I don't know how many people actually sent in for that catalog, because, you know, just because you watch this doesn't mean that you want to order or that you're that demented or sick. I mean, I would think you'd have a little something up with you. I mean, I know I did when I watched this. But then there are those people who are curious too, you know, and they just want to know what's going on, and they're completely sane. And then when they come out of this, they're like, I never want to do this again. Or I never should have watched this. I never should have went near this series. And I'm one of those as well. So I'm kind of in between the two. So there we go, my time is up. Now I'm going to rant about this film a little bit, since I think it's only appropriate to do so about a film like this that's so dark, graphic, nasty, despicable, insulting. There's a billion words I can use for it, but we're not going to get into all that, so we're just going to dive right in. And I just got a few complaints about this film, and I got a few things I just got to rant about, so it's kind of a rant, kind of a my thoughts deal, I guess you could call it. So yeah, so basically I'm going to do this, so yeah, now you're going to hear my thoughts, so here we go. Okay, my first complaint about this film is the warning at the beginning of the film. Not the extreme warning that warns the audience we're about to see graphic violence and disgusting things. The one that comes before that, and actually I have it right here on my phone. I will read this to you. Listen and see if you think this is stupid. The producers of this film were considering putting a tone before and after the most horrific scenes contained in this film as extreme caution to the viewers. In putting this film together, this is where it just gets stupid. In putting this film together, they found that all scenes would have to be started with a tone, so the consideration was dropped. What the Okay, I get where they're coming from. I mean, yeah, they want to be helpful to the audience and whatnot. And I even remembered my reaction video, if I remember correctly. I even said that having a tone before and after probably would have been helpful. But that's because I hadn't seen the film either, so I really didn't know what to expect from a lot of this. I didn't really know how extreme it was going to be. But when I saw the film, then I realized this is the most stupidest thing I have ever heard. Not so much the fact that they wanted to put a tone, but the fact that they felt they needed to let us know. Does it even matter? I mean, there's a million behind the scenes that happen in movies and whatnot, but we don't hear about every single one of them unless you go on a trivia page and you read about the different kinds of trivia of the film. Like if you want to know about Harrison Ford getting sick in making Raiders of the Lost Ark, you can easily read that on IMDb. Or if you want to know some of the more extreme facts behind the film, like Gene Kelly singing in the rain, singing with 103-degree fever, but they don't put that in the film. They don't put signs in the film that say like, oh yeah, in filming this scene Gene Kelly was sick, so he had to be careful while filming this scene. Really makes no sense to tell us this. I mean, I know they're trying to be edgy and whatnot. They're trying to be like, oh, we were thinking about putting a tone, but this film is so shocking that you don't need one. Do I really look like I give a crap about it? No, I really don't. I would just rather have had the extreme warning and then get into the film and don't mess around with all this other bullcrap, because that just wastes about 15 seconds of film. My next complaint about this film is the narrator. Oh my gosh, don't get me started on the narrator. The narration is credited to a man by the name of Damon Fox. Never heard of that name before, and don't even know what that is, but even on the end credits it says that his company's called Fox with 2 X's, like Jamie Foxx, Fox Entertainment Enterprises. Okay, I get that you want to make this film and be edgy and whatnot, but my real complaint lies in the narration. The reason it lies in that is because this guy sounds like a total idiot. He doesn't even sound like he knows what he's talking about. He sounds just like he put his voice through like one of those distorted voice changers, you know, that like the governments use in order to, you know, not give your real identity away when you're talking to someone, you know. it's almost like that's pretty much what he's doing. I mean, I'm probably spot on with what he did, but I mean, it's just so stupid the way he's talking. There were times I had to laugh at the way he sounded when I first heard it on Shock Extreme 1's video. I actually chuckled a little bit when I first heard the narration, because I was like, this is the dude I read about? This is the edgy, weird-ass dude I read about? Really? But the worst part about the narration is his dialogue. Now, of course, narration, of course, that's pretty obvious. You know, you have to have good dialogue and whatnot. But this guy has terrible dialogue. I mean, some of the things he says, they're not even, he's not even presenting it like a, you know, like somebody who knows what he's talking about, at least, you know. He's just presenting it. I mean, he tries too hard. I mean, he's Mr. like, then there were those who were the victims of hungry beasts, like this man who was continually gnawed at. It's like, I get where you're trying to go with this, and he's using a bunch of proper terms too. Occasionally he uses proper terms. There's a couple times where, I mean, he'll be slang, or he'll say, you know, stupid, you know, random things at random times, you know, and whatnot. You know, like there's one line where he's all like, have you ever wondered what the inside of a leg looked like? Splayed open like a side of beef. And then they show the picture, and then the most obvious answer, well, now you know. And I'm just going, you really needed to tell me that? I mean, not only is his dialogue obvious, but it's also really insulting at times. I mean, the way he describes some of these things, and the way that he, you know, talks about it. Like, there are times in the film, like, I know with the lion scene at the very end, he starts getting into it a lot. The first thing he says when that footage starts is, you are now about to witness the most incredible death ever captured. What's so incredible about it? I mean, is it because he got out of his car trying to be a badass and then all of a sudden he got eaten by lions? Is that really what's so incredible about it? I mean, it's just stupid. I don't get why he's doing all this. I mean, I know he's I'll acknowledge that they're trying to be weird, and like I've said this a million times already. I haven't said, well, not a million times, but I've said this a few times already throughout the video. But I know they're trying to be edgy, and they're trying to be that, you know, creepy person, and they're trying to be like that person who would take you through everything, who has almost no soul whatsoever. But the way he talks about some of these people, he takes it a little too far. Another thing I don't like about this narration is a lot of it is left unexplained. You know, it's like we're seeing all this nasty, disturbing footage, but we really don't know what happened behind the scenes. We really don't know if something went wrong and something happened and the person died because of an unnatural cause or whatnot, or, you know, whatnot. We just get thrown these images, and the narrator only comes on like once, like every 20 minutes, if that even. I mean, that's how limited his dialogue is. I mean, like, when they, like, let me put it in this perspective. Like, he opens the film, he talks a little bit about, you know, some of the pictures. The pictures he usually talks over. And then finally, you know, then he's just silent for quite some time, you know. And then you get this, like, montage of really disturbing stuff, and you don't even know half of it unless it's, like, famous, like Maurice to Martin or Bud Dwyer, and you know the story behind that. But the other stuff, you're left questioning, like, why is this happening? Like, the pig scene, you're wondering, why are they doing this? Like, I mean, I kind of conferred from what I saw and from what I researched, it was an experiment, but still, it'd be nice to know a little bit why this was going on. I mean, okay, I get they're trying to take it a step up from Faces of Death, but really, can you at least just give us some background on it, even if it's just like, unfortunately, these people were so cruel that they decided the best way to test out their new product was to burn a pig. Could you at least say that, so we know what's going on, or something like that? I mean, I know that was really dark what I just said, but you guys get my point, you know? And that's the one thing I don't like about this, is that a lot of it's left unexplained, and all we're treated to is just shock footage with stuff that probably wasn't even the victim's fault sometimes, you know? And then all of a sudden, you know, we just see the death, and then you're going, oh no, what, why would this person do this? And then all of a sudden you realize it's not his fault if you do research later, or if somehow you find out. I don't know how else you find out, but yeah. So that's all I have to say about the narrator. I could go on and on, but we're going to cut it off right there.